Hey, welcome to our explainer. Today we're going to get into something you've probably seen 100 times in many worship services, but maybe never fully understood. We're going to unpack the spiritual meaning behind lifting your hands to the Lord, all based on a really fascinating devotional text.
You know the scene, right? People lifting their hands during a song. Maybe you've even done it yourself. But what does it actually mean? Is it just something people do, a custom? Or is there something much deeper going on with this physical act? Let's find out.
All right, let's dive right in. The source material we're digging into today starts with a pretty simple but powerful idea, that this very common gesture often loses its meaning.
The author basically says that for some people, raising their hands has become, well, almost robotic. It's something they do out of habit, maybe just because everyone else around them is doing it. So the physical motion is there, but that deep spiritual connection and understanding, it's just missing. And that disconnect is exactly what this text wants to fix. So, if it's not just a habit, what is this gesture supposed to be all about? Well, the text ties its meaning to a very specific spiritual idea, and this is really the first key insight from this devotional. This verse from the Psalms is pretty much the cornerstone of the whole argument. It creates this incredibly powerful metaphor. The act of lifting your hands is compared to two things: your prayer rising up like incense, and more specifically, the evening sacrifice.
Now, the sacrifice it's talking about here isn't a literal one, of course. According to the text, it's a symbolic offering of your entire self to God. It's an outward sign of an inward feeling, of faith, of reverence, and of total surrender.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting. The author takes this idea and connects it to something you might not expect at all. He shares a personal story that links this spiritual act to our physical health. He started noticing this pattern during healing meetings. He saw that a lot of people who couldn't lift their hands weren't just being shy, they were in actual physical pain. This observation caught his attention and made him wonder if there was something more going on. And here it is, the core of his conclusion, and the next big insight from this text. The source draws a direct line from that physical pain to what it calls a spiritual cause, years and years of not following the instruction to worship this way. It's a pretty bold claim, right? To link a spiritual habit or lack thereof to a physical problem? So if that's the diagnosis, then what's the solution? Well, the source says it's not about waiting for some special feeling to hit you, it's about being proactive and turning your belief into a deliberate physical practice. The author points to this scripture as a direct command. See, the instruction isn't to wait until your hands feel strong enough to lift. It's to lift them because they hang down, because they're weak. The action itself is framed as the first step toward getting healed. The source lays out this really clear four-step process. First, you have to get it. You have to recognize why this act is spiritually important. Second, you have to practice it consistently, even if it's hard. Third, you have to see that action as an act of faith. And finally, you get the result. The text promises that the pain will start to fade and your strength will come back.
And this brings us to the final section, and really, the ultimate conclusion from the source about the power hidden in this simple gesture.
So, this one single action is just packed with all this meaning. It's not just one thing. It's your faith, it's a sacrifice, it's reverence, it's being responsive to the Spirit, and all of that, the text argues, leads to a real pathway to physical healing and spiritual glory. So, here's the bottom line, the most crucial point. The author's message is that your spirit has authority over your physical body. The whole argument is that by consistently doing this act of worship, your spirit can actually retrain and heal your body, helping you overcome pain and limitations, all through a simple act of faith.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to chew on. Could a simple physical gesture really hold that much profound spiritual and, yes, even physical power? The source we looked at today makes a really compelling case that it can. And it definitely challenges all of us to think about that connection between our actions, our faith, and our own well-being.